what's up guys? We're going to talk about the causes of the Revolutionary War. When we think of the causes of the Revolutionary War, I want you to think of people who have finally had enough. People who are willing to go against their own country and commit what seems to be treason. Think about how angry you would have to be in order for you to do that against the United States of America. Think about it, because that's what they did. Let's take a look. Alright, let's get a little background on what's going on intellectually during this time, during the 17th and 18th centuries. During this time, we have a group of Enlightenment thinkers who are taking a brand new look at the way that people interact with their government. Let's take a look first at John Locke. Okay? John Locke is going to be one of these thinkers who brings about the idea of natural rights. Natural rights being life, liberty, and the pursuit of, wait for it, that's right, property. You thought I was going to say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, didn't you? But no, it was property. Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I wonder if he really had a problem with poor whites or poor anybody having property. The next is a guy named Baron de Montesquieu. Now, the genius of Baron de Montesquieu is that he was French and he was willing to compliment the British. He looked at the British model of government and said, hey, these Britons are doing it right. They split up power amongst the monarch and two houses of parliament. Genius, right? Another one of these Enlightenment philosophers, his name is Rousseau. Now, here's the thing about Rousseau. Rousseau said that there was a relationship that could be codified or written into a contract with government. It was called the social contract theory. And it said that the governments only rule with the consent of the governed. That is, that the people will the government to govern over them. And finally, we have Voltaire. Voltaire was an amazing philosopher who said that it is, I might disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Genius. Pure genius. Well, let's talk about some of the more hard-hitting, more concrete reasons that these colonists are going to finally rebel against their own government. First, there's salutary neglect. Salutary neglect is kind of like, think of the word neglect. What if I were to leave my classroom, or if I were to leave my children alone at home, what would they do? Would they brush their teeth when they were supposed to? Would they do their homework? No, they would not follow any rules because I'm not there to enforce it. Now think about it. The colonists are 3,000 miles away from their British king. Okay? And when the British king kind of neglects to strictly govern the colonists, they're going to start to govern themselves. You can give them some freedom, but you can't take it back. Salutary neglect. The Virginia House of Burgesses was a representative body that made laws in Virginia. Famous members such as Patrick Henry, George Washington, and yes, Thomas Jefferson. The House of Burgesses was the forerunner of today's U.S. Congress. The French and Indian War was a war that was fought between 1754 and 1763. In this war, France is going to battle the British in the colonies. And it is going to be this idea that the colonies have to pay for the war debt of the British who come and fight the French on North American soil, that is the colonists' job to pay for the war debt. This is not going to bode well with the colonists, and they're going to be absolutely furious. Okay? They're going to rebel against any taxes such as the Sugar Act, the Tea Act, and yes, the Intolerable Acts. Another side effect that's going to really get under the skin of the colonists is the Proclamation of 1763, in which the British government says that the colonists cannot move past the Appalachian Mountains. In order to maintain good relations with the Native Americans, the British made an agreement that said that the colonists will not move past the Appalachian Mountains. This is going to infuriate the colonists because they have nowhere to expand, and they're going to feel like they're being pinned under the British monarch. All right, so now let's take a look at some of the important events that are going to drum up more support for the independence movement. What we want to take and make very clear is the fact that not everyone wanted independence. Not everyone wanted to declare their independence from Great Britain. There were those called loyalists, and there were those called patriots. Patriots were in support of the independence movement, and loyalists were still loyal to George III, the monarch of Britain. All right, let's take a look at the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party is that moment in Boston's history where people become so upset with the taxes on tea, they call it the Tea Act, that they are going to actually take British tea and throw it into Boston Harbor. Now, not an overly, wasn't a military victory, it wasn't an ideological victory, but what it did is it is going to drum up support across the colonies for independence. This is where we get taxation without representation. We've seen it everywhere. Let's say it again. Taxation without representation. They took away the representation. Okay? They took away the right to represent themselves in the colonies. They would not let the colonists be represented in Parliament. Therefore, they were being taxed without any representation. That would tick me off. Another one of these pieces of legislation that passes the British Parliament is going to be known as the Intolerable Act, which is going to close down the Port of Boston. Intolerable because now Boston can't trade. And when you have a bunch of colonists who can't trade, who can't make money, and they have lots of extra time on their hands, oh boy, I would want to stick around and see what happens. Okay, so we've mentioned some of the events. Now let's talk about some of these societal changes and philosophical changes that are taking place that are going to cause or lead to the revolution. What I want you guys to think of are those Enlightenment philosophers that we mentioned earlier. Locke, Montesquieu, Voltaire, Rousseau. They're starting to change their minds. More and more people are going to want their individual rights. More and more people have the right to vote because more people are owning larger tracts of land and they have the right to vote. Also, there's a distinct difference between culture in Britain and in the colonies. You have this distinct line that's been drawn between freedom and individual rights and worshiping a monarchy in Britain. That line has been drawn. As a result of these liberties that the colonists have, they're going to view these taxes, the Sugar Act, the Tea Act, the Intolerable Acts, they're going to view all of these as a threat against their newfound freedom. And they're going to want independence as well. Alright, so let's recap some of these causes. We have Enlightenment philosophers who are changing the hearts and minds of the reading public into wanting liberty for themselves, freedom of speech, and representative government, consent to the governed. We've covered that already. Then we have Britain, who is failing to keep a close watch on the colonies and what we call salutary neglect. Third, we have examples of self-government, such as the Virginia House of Burgesses and the Mayflower Compact, which we didn't mention. But the Mayflower Compact is that first example when the Pilgrims arrived of self-government that laid the foundation that these people coming to North America were going to be self-governed. Then we have our other events. We have the Boston Massacre, we have the Boston Tea Party, and we have the change in society and culture between Britain and the colonies. That is going to lead up to July 4th, 1776, when the delegates of the First Continental Congress are going to adopt the Declaration of Independence and formally break, split, leave, vamonos from Great Britain. And there you have it. Those are the causes of the American Revolution in a nutshell.